Hello. This is Pesach Sherbow from Spot Israel, Torah for the Nations. We're recording now, or we're broadcasting from our office in our home. We have a center right in the middle of Spot that we talk to people all day long. The tourists to come through, anybody who wants to come in for counseling, whether they're Jewish or not Jewish. We talk to everybody. We talk to them about Hashem and believing in Hashem, faith in Hashem, which we're going to talk about, and knowing Hashem, knowing God. Welcome. Pesach here. Terry's here as co-host and anchor to keep things going and running smoothly. And hi, Thomas, Veronica, and Carla. And we already know that Troy has a family thing today. And Fran, who's usually here, she's babysitting her grandkids today. So she's not going to be able to pay attention. When you're babysitting two little kids, you don't have time to pay attention to anything except the kids. So we're happy for her. It's fun. And what we want to talk about today is faith. It's called emunah in Hebrew. This is a very, very touchy word. You know, faith. Well, let me get a definition of faith that I looked up says is confidence or trust in a person, thing, or concept, generally in the context of religion. It is a faith or a belief with no proof. Someone tells you a story, you say, yes, I believe it. I just told you before we started the program, I was telling everybody a miracle that happened in my life. Now, you can believe it or not believe it. You can have faith in it or not have faith in it. This is the same thing the religions tell us. Don't just have faith. It really happened. It's true. No, we can't tell you how it happened. We can't prove to you anything, but we know it happened because it's true. Emunah, faith. Faith is believing, let's see, I got a really good definition here. Let me see if I can get back to it real quick. It's faith in, and you can probably give it to me, Terry, faith in something which is not seen, but it's hoped for.
Yeah, that's you're talking about the Christian definition?
Yeah.
The more or less the belief in what is not seen, but hold. It's been a while since I looked that up.
Well, here you go. And faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, the assurance that what we hope for will come about. That's the religious definition of faith. Let me say this again.
That's not emunah.
No. Faith is a substance of things hoped for. Man, I got faith I'm going to win the lottery this week. I don't play it, but, you know, if I did, it's the evidence of things not seen. People tell you, hey, kids have faith in the tooth fairy. Evidence of things not seen. It's the assurance that what we hope for will come about. And the certainty that what we cannot see exists. In other words, whatever we have faith in. That's not emunah. And it's translated as faith all throughout the Jewish texts because there is no other word that comes close to what it means. But faith is hoping for something or believing something that someone tells you is true, even though if you logically think about it, you know it couldn't have happened. There's no 2 and 2 is 4. They make up these stories and say, this is what happened. And every religion has them. Every single religion. And I do want to say that Judaism, being a Jew, is not being part of a religion. It's being part of a family that is chosen by God to teach other people about Him. That's all we're here for, is to teach other people about Him. And we are to let you know that you will know who God is. And it's one of the commandments to all mankind. Know that I am God. Know, not believe, not have faith, not hope for, but know I exist. Know that I am your God. Know that I am your creator. Now, I can have faith that my creator is going to correct some situation I'm in because I know him and I know what he does. And most of the time, he will correct the situation. For anybody, by the way, that has faith in him, not because you're Jewish. Many people throw prayers up to him in every single religion in the world. And you know what? The religions get answered, the prayers get answered. Oh, my religion answered my question. Buddha did it for me. Baha'i did it for me. Yeshua did it for me. No. There's only one creator and one entity with the power to do these things, and that is God. And he listens to everybody, no matter who you are, because we're all his family. We're all his sons and daughters. And you know what? If your son or your daughter comes to you and needs really, really serious help, you're not going to turn them away. You're going to do something for them. Now, when God answers prayers, we have no idea why he answers them the way he does. He has his own way of doing things. I've learned that there's 3 answers to a prayer. Yes, no, or silence. Silence usually means we already know the answer if we're asking a question, or it means we have to wait for an answer and just wait it out. In Imunah, and I like this, they put this in here, and they kind of they put it in like they're attacking Judaism here. It says faith itself is not a religious concept in Judaism. Well, it certainly isn't. It's not at all. It's like you have faith in your husband, your wife, your kids, your father, your mother. You have faith that if you work at your work this week, on Friday, you're going to get your paycheck or whatever day they pay you. Why do you have that faith? Because you know. You know you're going to get your paycheck. You know your mom. You know your dad. You know your brothers and sisters. You know somebody. You know every one of you has faith that there's somebody you can pick up in the middle of the night and call and say, help, I need help. That kind of friend. You have faith that they're going to get out of bed and come help you. You know who they are. And this is what God wants from you.
That's how I've always, when I talk to people about the difference between emunah and faith, faith is based on belief, and belief denotes doubt. Emunah is based on knowledge, and knowledge is based on facts.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
And that's the difference. That's why I'm really, when a lot of times I'll use faith, like, because most people understand what it is, but it's one of those English words that hides the true meaning of the Hebrew.
Right, exactly. We don't have there's no word in English to translate it into. That's the closest one.
And it's not really, emunah is not really even a word. I mean, if you can understand what I've come to understand. Emunah it's a word it's a word in a way that describes, I don't want to say process, but it's a mindset.
Well, not only is it a mindset, it's an action.
Yeah.
When you have emunah in God, then you do what he tells you to do. And then we say, you faithfully follow what he says to do. Hey, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, please. We are faithfully doing what he says to do. It's an action. We're doing it. The related words to emunah in Hebrew would be amamen is a coach, someone that shows you how to be able to do faithfully what you need to do, whether you're playing basketball, football, soccer, whether you're praying, whatever you're doing. He's a coach. When you go to practice how to do these things, definitive is lamen. In other words, you're actively doing the act so that you can get better at what you're doing. Like you're practicing it. And that's the related meanings. Hebrew is a funny language. It starts with 3-letter roots, and then they all come off of it, and they all have some interrelated meaning somewhere, but they don't have to mean exactly the same thing every time. So it's part of, it's a positive thing of practicing and learning how to do what you need to do to fulfill what God wants you to do. It says here the faith in God is mentioned in the book of Genesis and in other places, but the word translated here is the Hebrew, which also can be translated believed, or is reliable, or is trustworthy. It's based on knowledge. People ask me all the time, "You believe in God?" I say, "Not 1 minute. I know God. If I know him, I don't have to believe in him like you're supposed to believe in the tooth fairy." Thank you. I know him. What do I have to believe in him for? I can believe in him that he's going to do something for me. I can believe that have faith that he's going to take care of me. But I know him. Now, how does Pesach know God? The Tanakh says that my family spent 40 years studying with him in the desert after we left Egypt. Oh yeah, you read about all the mistakes we made, but if you read about all the good stuff, guess what? Good stuff doesn't make news. People don't remember it. It's the mistakes that are made that people learn from. If you've never made a mistake in your life, you've done nothing in your life because you haven't learned life. Living is making mistakes and learning from them and correcting yourself. I mean, it's really easy. And that has to do with, and well, now when you're practicing to do something, when you're even shooting hoops, you practice and practice and practice till you get it right. And every time you miss, you correct. Maybe you got to stand a little further back, a little closer, maybe not throw it quite so much. Bowling is one heck of a game to learn. Because, I mean, you can get 3 strikes in a row and you will go up there and all of a sudden, poof, nothing. Because you didn't do it exactly the way you did it before. So what do? You practice. Amen. You practice. And you have faith you're going to get that strike because you know eventually you are. It's not something you have to dream about at home. Dream about it in your sleep. So,
Can I interject something here?
Yeah.
What you said just brought a thought.
Yep.
You know, most people know that I studied for conversion for a little over 6 years.
Right.
And when you're studying for conversion, you are practicing. You're practicing the commandments because, one, you're not commanded to do them, but the practicing is to teach you how to do the commandments so that when you get to a certain place, it's no longer practice, you're actually doing them.
Exactly.
And so that's really like you're talking about Emunah.
Yeah.
We practice to learn to know.
Yes.
And all of that, there's no belief, there's no doubt, there's none of this, there's not even any faith. There's no faith in practice. You're learning to do, to know.
Yes.
I don't know, that just kind of came to me, when you said that, because everything we were learning in our conversion process was we're practicing putting to feeling, we're practicing saying the Hebrews, we're practicing. But at some time, that practice becomes knowledge, and when you get to that certain level of conversion, going through the mikveh, you're no longer practicing. You're knowing. You're knowing what.
Yeah, exactly. You know it before the conversion, but after the conversion, you're actually living it. You're not practicing it anymore.
But see, that's the same thing with God. We're practicing in some stages, like when we're learning, like say those of us, the Noachides coming from these different religions, we're learning and we're practicing these things. But there comes a point where that practice becomes knowledge, and that knowledge is the knowledge of God.
Right, exactly. And that you never, in 6.5 years, nobody said, well, just believe it. Just have faith in it.
Right.
Nobody ever told you that.
Don't believe that something, a plate is kosher, or not, just different things like that.
Yeah.
You learn all the details so that you have knowledge. And that's what really, like for us Noachides, when we're studying, is we're practicing and learning about the knowledge of God so we can know Him, which is Emunah. What
Exactly.
we're talking about.
Exactly. It's this article, which obviously was written by a Protestant or a Christian, says Judaism does not recognize the positive value of emunah, generally translated as faith. The negative status, but faith is not as stressed or as essential as it is in other religions, especially compared with Christianity or Islam. It could be a necessary means for being a practicing religious Jew, but the emphasis is placed on true knowledge and true prophecy and practice rather than on faith itself.
And really, even though they use that as a negative statement, it's actually a positive statement.
Absolutely. They use it as a negative statement. It says here, Judaism does not require one to explicitly identify God.
Oh, shoot.
I like that.
Oh, I got to turn it off.
Oh, there we go. You can take care of it now, Thomas.
I was about to put my dancing shoes on. In Jewish scriptures, trust in God, emunah, refers to how God acts towards his people and how they respond to him. It is rooted in the everlasting covenant established in Torah. And that's exactly what it is. The everlasting covenant that is established in Torah. But they think they're trying to say just between the Jews, but it's not true. It's between God and all mankind. And we have proof of that because we have the rainbow, we had the flood, we had the restart. And God, everybody thinks the rainbow is so beautiful. I look at it and say, phew, sure glad he's not going to do it by water again. Because do we yet deserve not to have what happened in the flood or in Sodom and Gomorrah? If we cleared ourselves of that, I think he's being more patient with us now, is what it's amounting to. But that rainbow is a symbol of disaster. Kaboom, like a mushroom cloud. Every time you see a mushroom cloud, you know what happened underneath it. We look at a rainbow and say, oh, isn't that sweet and pretty? But what happened underneath that rainbow?
Destruction.
Just absolute destruction. Know therefore that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God who keeps the covenant and loving kindness with those who love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. Notice he says, and this is in Deuteronomy 7:9, who keeps the covenant and loving kindness with those who love him. Doesn't say with the Jews, doesn't say with Israel, says with those who love him. It's a call to all people, just like when Solomon dedicated the first Beit HaMikdash, the first temple, a house of prayer for all nations, not just for Israel, not for the Jews. There's a little, and you may or may not have heard this little parable before, but the Talmud describes how a thief also believes in God, and on the brink of going in to rob somebody, and he's about to risk his life and also the life of the victim. He cries out with all sincerity, God help me. God help me do this, accomplish this. The thief has faith that there's a God who hears his cries, but he still doesn't understand that he doesn't have to steal to get what he wants. If he just have the total trust in God, God would supply him with his needs. So the thief who has total trust in God and puts his life in God's hands still hasn't learned the very best lesson of all about interacting with God, which is God will take care of things. Let him do it. He'll take care of you. The thief had faith that God was going to help him. Now, sometimes the help comes in a negative way. Who knows? Maybe the thief got caught and spent some time in jail, and he gave up his thieving ways. Who knows? I want to digress 1 minute to Abraham, because Abraham is a perfect example of emunah, of total trust and faith in God and acting on it. Remember that God said Abraham granted him righteousness because of his emunah, his total trust in God. Well, then God tells him, through you, this whole all these generations and generations are come about through your only son, Isaac. And then we turn around and God says to him, okay, take your son 3 days from here to the place where I'm going to show you, and I want you to sacrifice him on the altar. The next verse says, Abraham awoke in the morning with vigor and packed the donkey and took 2 lads and took Isaac with him and went off. It didn't say he got up and said, oh my goodness, look what he's having me do. I can't believe this. God wants me to do this. He just got up, put everything together, and left to go to the mountain. He goes up to Mount Moriah. As him and Isaac are walking up to Mount Moriah, Isaac says, hey, we got the machete, we got the big knife, we got the fire pot, we got the wood. Where's the sacrifice? And Abraham answers, God will provide the sacrifice, my son. Those are the words he used. They get up there. Now, this understand, God had promised Abraham that through Isaac, there would be a whole nation born to represent God. So there are many different discourses on what happened up there and what Abraham thought and what Isaac thought. And we don't know exactly what went through their heads, but we have some pretty genius people who have studied these things in depth and have written different scenarios about it. One of the things that is kind of common in all these different scenarios is Abraham trusted God that his lineage was still going to come through Isaac. So that deep inside, Abraham knew that this wasn't going to be a child sacrifice, because God doesn't believe in child sacrifice. He doesn't believe in any kind of human sacrifice. But God told me to do it. I'm going to go do it. Everything was going right down to the last minute, and the angel says, hold it, Abraham. Abraham. He called him twice just to make sure he heard him. He says, no, unhand the kid. Don't do that. And Abraham looked over, and there's a ram caught in the thicket. Isaac also, can you imagine your father walking up to you and starting to tie you up to lay you on the altar? This is called self-nullification to God. This is called, in Hebrew, it's called bitul. Abraham canceled out all his feelings and just said, okay, God said I'm going to do it, that's it. Isaac, laying down on the altar, had somewhere deep inside of him know that it wasn't going to happen. Down deep inside, but I'm sure he was fearful. I mean, anybody with a hatchet hanging over their neck, right? But these people had total faith that God was going to do what he said he was going to do. They knew God well enough. They knew him, didn't believe in him, didn't have faith in him. They knew him well enough to, in the end, his word that he had promised them, that Abraham would be the father of nations and they would flow through Isaac. And God did exactly what he said he was going to do. Abraham walked away from that experience, and so did Isaac, with such renewed vigor in God and renewed faith, knowing that God was faithful. He was going to do what he said he was going to do. The bad thing that came out of all of that, most people don't know this, the next chapter in the Bible is called the life of Sarah, but it wasn't about her life, it was about her death. And when Sarah heard what Abraham was doing, her soul left her. She just died right on the spot. She just thought that Isaac was gone. That was it. Why? Don't know. But when they come off the mountain, she's already dead, and they go to Beersheba to live. The point is, Abraham had total emunah to do what God said to do. He just did what he said to do, actively did it, even though it seems so weird. Why would he tell me this after he said, my son, the nations were going to flow through me and through Isaac? But he knew God. He knew God. He knew that God wasn't going to, in the end, do this thing. He didn't know why he was going through it. Didn't know nothing about it. But he did it. And when you know God, now I'm not saying God's going to tell you to do something weird. I mean, look, Hollywood makes enough fun of us people that believe in God. The guy that goes out on the street and kills 15 people, God told me in my ear I had to go do it. Well, you know that's wacko. And good old Hollywood beefs it up for us about this wacko stuff. Practicing what God tells us to do in total emunah, knowing God, so we faithfully do what he says to do. And as you do it, and look, I know what I went through when I Chazarti b'tshuva. It's called I'm a Baal Tshuva. I was a Jew that was way off over there somewhere. Now I'm back in the center, not only just in the center, but in the extreme center, because that's what Chabad is. And we're very conscious of all the little tiny details, which is okay with me, but it wasn't in the beginning, to tell you the truth. Because I'm saying, they want me to do what? I'm supposed to do what? What do I have to do this for? I questioned, which we're allowed to do. We're allowed to question. And I would study and I would learn. The one thing that I never let go of was my trust in God. And when I read God's word, and it says, and I read it, of course, in Hebrew, when he says, do X, Y, Z, I do. This is the difference between a Jew. This is the difference between believing in the God of Israel and anything else you can believe in. If you must do first. You must faithfully practice. You must do. You must surrender yourself to your Creator and do what he says to do. Then as you do it, you will learn the reasons why eventually of every single thing you do. Now, we Jews have a little bit of head start because we've been dealing with this for 3,300 years. And we've had some fantastically intelligent, righteous men studying God's word. And we're finding out some of the things we know exactly, some of the things we know maybe, and some of the things we'll never know. But we tell each other one thing. If I can understand and know what God wants, then he's not God, because he's on my level. We can never, ever understand what he wants or why he wants it in a really concrete way. We can think around it and stuff. And that's why, and I see on many Noachide sites, they start these debates. Well, I read this over here and it says this. And somebody says, well, I read it over here and it says this. And the other says, I read it over here and it says this. And some other guy says, well, if it's not at least 2,000 years old opinion, I don't want to hear it. It's like that. They have no idea what they're talking about. All the discussions that our people have had over thousands of years lead to more understanding of God. And there's no wrong. I could have meant it this way, or he could have meant it this way, he could have meant it this way. So if you want to do it that way, it's okay, and I'll do it this way, and you do it that way, but there's nothing wrong with it. We're all right. I've talked about this before, but that's what happens in churches, that's what happens in mosques. And Islam has huge divisions in it. Because this prophet thought this, and they kill each other over it. And this prophet said this, and this prophet said that. And they kill each other because you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't say that. Churches split in a heartbeat, at least the ones I've known, quite a few in the USA, Protestant churches. Somebody says, well, I believe this, and next week somebody comes, I really studied this, and I think God says this. They start an argument. People choose sides. Poof. Half the church is gone.
Yeah, I knew a church that split over the color of the carpet that was chosen for the sanctuary. They literally did. It was a small church in this area. Group wanted purple, another group wanted another color, and they got in a fight over it and split over the color of the carpet.
Yeah, we've had some pretty knockout, drag-out fights over colors of carpets and what goes on the walls. In the end, we never split anywhere. We're all there praying every day. But we'll argue with one another, and you guys know that. I mean, it's a big joke. 2 Jews, 3 opinions, We're allowed. But we're not allowed to get to the point of throwing rocks at each other or splitting ourselves. Now, there are some Jews that have done that. They're extreme right. There's those on the extreme left. But the majority of Jews are right down the center of the road. The point I'm making is, if someone tells you just believe something because you don't have to know what it's about, just believe, just have faith in it. God says, you want to know what it's about, do it first, and then you'll get an understanding of it.
Just like the conversion process. Do this,
right.
And then one day you'll know.
It's a matter of fact, it's like almost any apprentice project. Apprentice carpenter, apprentice butcher, apprentice car mechanic. You can learn things in books, and you can get. Look, I studied here in Israel many, many years ago, small appliance repair. Oh boy, I passed with flying colors, passed all the tests and everything, all the little practical stuff in the lab. And I set up my own little business. The first place I get, I'm going by the book, and the book didn't help me. Wait a minute, it says this is supposed to do this, and when you do this, this is going to do this. They don't tell you about, well, yeah, it's supposed to do this, but this could happen, or this could happen, or this could happen. Why do you think they call doctors practitioners? They practice on us all the time. They go to all those years of study, they learn it from the book, but until they start touching and working on people, they don't know anything.
Yeah, I ran into that when I was in the heating and air field. We'd hired a guy who'd gone to a refrigeration school, and we were tearing out an old heating system in a house built in the 70s and replacing it. And he said, well, you can't do this and this and this. The book says not to. And I said, throw that book away. I said, it wasn't here in 1970 when this house was built. We have to put in a system that that works, and we have to work with what we're given. And I said, that book doesn't give you that.
Right.
So yeah, I ran in that a lot. I learned, especially in that field, you learn by doing.
All fields, you learn by doing.
Just like when I tell people, we talk about the oral transmission of the laws. And I asked how many people, I said, how many people did you study and read in a textual format how to tie your shoes? Or was you orally taught how to tie your shoes?
Good example.
Nobody to this day yet has ever told me they read instructions. How do you teach a 2-year-old to read a book on instructions to begin with? But no one's ever read a book on how to tie your shoes. They were taught orally how to tie their shoes.
Yes. There's two different ways to learn something. There's a lot of people out there reading the Talmud and the Gemara, and they're reading Rambam, and they're reading the Shulchan Aruch, and they're reading the Tanakh, and they're reading all these things, and you see the arguments on some of the Noachide sites. So I read this, and I read this, and it says this here, and it says that there. But they're dealing with a knowledge that doesn't mean anything because they don't have the internal workings of what this knowledge actually is. They don't understand what they're saying. They didn't understand what they read. They read it to know it. Okay, I know X, Y, Z. I know the sun is so many miles from the earth. I know the moon is so many miles from the earth. I know it. Good. I got some intelligence. I know it. Well, that's fine. But just knowing something doesn't make it workable for you. But they're using the mindset that they've learned in other religions, not just one or two, but all the other religions, that I know it, so I'm good. Judaism is an active action thing. You learn, first of all, you have to learn who God is. And he says one day everyone on earth will know who he is. Everyone. Nobody's going to have to teach anybody else who he is. Once that's done, everybody will have the same understanding. They just have to do what he says to do, and they'll eventually learn why they're doing it. They don't have to know first. And so, oh, okay, I think it's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. No, their opinion really doesn't mean anything. God says, do it, you're supposed to do it. Now, my challenge to everybody that sees this video and everybody that wants to answer this question, if it says in the prophecies that one day the knowledge of God is going to cover the earth like waters cover, the knowledge of God is going to cover the earth like water, you know it's going to happen. It's a prophecy. So you want to wait for it, or you want to get up in front of it? You got to wait, so go ahead and prove it to me. Or you want to say, okay, God, I know you. I know you're going to do what you say. Now, let me give you a little interpretation of waters covering the earth. And the Rebbe talked about this back in the 1950s. This is what got me so fired up about being on the internet. He says, every time a new technology comes out, use it to talk about the God of Israel. He used radio when it came out. He used TV when it came out. He wasn't around when the internet came out, but he used all the other technology to do it. He'd do live broadcasts at the wall in Jerusalem over television and radio. In other words, he'd be in 770 in New York, and he'd be talking to everybody there in Jerusalem. What are we on right now? What does it call what we're doing right now? What do they say about the internet? We surf it. The waters of truth have it's already covered the earth. But there's so much garbage out there, we have to kind of get through it. The waters are there, and they're carrying the word of truth right now all over the world. Those that want to hear it will hear it, and those that don't want to hear it won't hear it. It's going to touch every corner. I read or saw a very terrible documentary about the Galapagos Islands. I don't know if anybody knows what they are, but Darwin went there and he found this theory, whatever. And it's a game reserve, and people aren't allowed to go on the island except with permission. I think it belongs to New Zealand or maybe Australia. I don't know where it belongs to. But a crew went there about 6 months ago, and they found that the beaches of the island covered in plastic bottles, plastic bags, plastic this, plastic that. It's like somebody had a big party all over it. So they sent a crew in there to start picking stuff up. I think they picked up 4 tons. And said there's still more to pick up. But you know where it came from? A guy throws something in the Hudson River. Or a guy throws something in the Mississippi. Or a guy throws something in the Missouri River. Or a guy throws something in the Amazon. It ends up in the middle of the ocean, floating up on these islands. Whales are dying from them. Turtles are dying from it. Tons and tons of plastic. Once things hit the internet, they're going to get everywhere, good or bad. Whatever you put out there is going to go to the furthest reaches of the earth. I got a picture a couple of years back, more than a couple, maybe it was about 10 years back, maybe 11, of my Torah teachings on the internet. And the picture came from a village somewhere in Africa. How are they getting my stuff in Africa? Through the internet. You know how they power the internet? Somebody sits there and pedals a bicycle they put on a stand to generate electricity so the whole village could watch what was on the computer. But they still got the word. And I've been trying to find that picture, but I think it's about 4 computers back or 5 computers back. It might have died with the hard drives. The point is, right now, the waters are covering the earth. You, me, every one of us has a responsibility now to help get the truth out so that the whole world will be covered with the knowledge of God. Everyone will know God and nobody's going to have to be taught about him. Why is this so important? It's important because you and me, Jew, Gentile, doesn't make any difference who you are. Until we finish doing the job that God put us here for, he's not sending the Messiah. Why is it so important that he send the Mashiach? Because that means it's a time when truly everyone will know God. Everybody's going to speak the same language, by the way. Whether you want it or not, you don't wake up one morning and you'll be speaking Hebrew, the language of the Tanakh. Whether you want it or not, you get it. And you don't have to worry about learning it now, but it'll happen. And we get the third temple. It starts the end of the end, which ends up with resurrection of the dead and going over to the next stage of life. Why are the Jews out here? Why am I here talking to you guys tonight? You are integral in God's plan. You are a part of his plan. Forget everything else you're doing in your life. I mean, go to work, do all that stuff, but all this other bibbity-bop that unfortunately we all grew up with, let it go. Concentrate on knowing God. Concentrate on your relationship with God. Concentrate on doing what he wants you to do, and all the rest will come to you. You will understand slowly but surely.
I see over the last 2 years, through some help of some teachings of Rabbi Laser Brody, has helped me understand that my job is a classroom in which I get to practice and learn the 7 laws.
Absolutely.
And Hashem is my source, not my job. So I don't go to work anymore looking for my paycheck because that comes from Hashem. I go there to try to learn how to do the 7 laws.
That's exactly right. And it's a battle sometimes.
Yeah, right. Like in my place where I'm at now, yeah, I can see, because I'm trying to come in and do what's right. And then there's others that are like, I've heard comments, that I'm trying to be, I don't know, teacher's pet or something. It's not necessarily that word, but I'm not. I'm there doing what I know what Hashem would want me to do, how he would want me to act. And when light comes in darkness, doesn't like it too well.
No, it doesn't.
But I had a thought the other day, and you might correct me on this, Pesach. We go out to the night sky. We look at all the stars, right? And some places I've got some bucket list places where you can actually, I would like to go see, you can see the Milky Way even better because it's so dark. You can see things more clearly. But even in a place like I live now, I go out and I see the stars, the moon at night. And I find it interesting that one little light that a star puts off beautifies the darkness.
Absolutely.
And I got to thinking about that the other day. And the example of the night sky is how, we always talk about how darkness is evil, darkness is hard, but yet darkness can be beauty because of the light that's shining in it.
Exactly. And understand, the light is not pushing back darkness, it's eliminating the darkness. It eliminates it. Doesn't cover it up, it eliminates it. It can't exist where there's light. In no way, shape, or form. And try and experiment. Turn all the lights off in any room you want in the house. Light a little match. What a difference that little match makes.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get one match and another match and another match and another match and another match together, that light just eliminates more and more darkness. We're actually eliminating the darkness. On the other side, when we get to the next stage of life, there is no darkness. There's only light. Because God is only light. It's the elimination of darkness altogether. It's not covered up. It's not hiding. It's not pushed away. It's gone. Now, sometimes I think, hey, when am I going to sleep? How do I know what time of day? We won't have to worry about all that stuff when we get to the other side.
Does that mean no more campfires?
That's probably what it means. No more campfires, but we're not going to need them. I don't know if Carla has any questions or Veronica has any questions or Thomas. Anybody have any questions they want to ask or something? Just type them in and let's talk about them. There's such joy in knowing God. It's not an emotional thing. Look, some people grow up not knowing who their biological father or mother are. And they grow up calling somebody father, calling somebody mother, but when they find out who their biological parent is, something happens. In most cases, they don't want to talk to them, they don't like them, but if they get together, it's like that. That's my mom, that's my dad. They just, with God, they push him away, they don't want to know about him. I'm okay with this guy over here. I'm okay with what this prophet says in Islam. I'm okay with Buddha or yin yang or whatever all the other stuff is. But it's not the truth. It's just like being in a foster home and calling your foster parents your mom and dad. Now, I know that some people have very good experiences being adopted and all of that. But it's still the real deal is God. That it's exciting to understand that what Emunah is knowledge and all the Christian things of just believing aren't necessary. Absolutely not necessary. If somebody tells you just believe it, tell them You believe it, I'm okay. Don't debate people. Don't. You be 100% confident in where you are. You don't have to prove to any other person on this earth where you are. And you don't have to convince anybody else on this earth what they should do with their life. That's their business. Your job is simply to make your relationship strong with your Creator. How do you do it? The 7 universal laws. And let me tell you something. If you think they're just 7, you're wrong. The 7 are just like an outline. They're topics. Underneath, there's all kinds of stuff there. All kinds of stuff there. So, and that's what we're going to teach. That's what we will teach. Now, there's plenty of places you can learn it. Some of them are more strict than others. It comes from, some rabbis teach it a little bit harsher way, some a little softer way. Where you learn it doesn't make any difference, really. But how you understand it, if you don't want to go in the harsh way, you don't even have to study if you don't want. That's the truth. All you have to do is every day read a little bit of the Tanakh. Read a little bit. Read some Psalms. You got time, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening. There's daily readings. You can just, do it every day. In 20 minutes, you can learn so much just by reading it and looking at it. And then during the day, kind of meditating on those words, thinking about them as you're driving to work or you're on the bus or you're going here, you're going there. God wants you, He wants from you that you know who He is, that you don't worship anybody but Him, and you don't defame Him or put Him down. And the other 5, which you guys all know because they're all logical, and we all get that we have them in our head because God put them there before we were born. And if that's all you can do, if you can't do anything else, it's okay.
Can I address something that Carla wrote?
Sure.
It says, she wrote, I don't want to be told I can't study because I'm a Noachide. That is such an area that's misunderstood in the Noachide movement. Some people have made it, their agenda to prove that they can study whatever they want, which technically, yeah, you can study whatever you want. The word can't study is probably really not the best wording that's out there that we've been told, because I've read that myself. What really needs to be understood is there are areas of the Tanakh, there's areas of Jewish writings in the Talmud and the Mishnah and different things in Kabbalah that's not profitable. It'd be just like me wanting to, I want to study up on what a brain surgeon knows. I don't ever plan on really operating on a brain, but I'd like to know it. It's nice to know it. It's knowledge. But it's useless knowledge. It's knowledge that we can't put to the pavement. And so really saying that you can't study certain things, I think is a kind of a hard way of putting it. It just needs to be put that it's not profitable to study. Like studying kosher, studying, the details of keeping Sabbath. If you're in a position that you'll never, convert and become Jewish, those things are just knowledgeable things, but they're not profitable. What's really good for us is to study our profitable areas, study the details of murder, personal injury, speech. Musar is really good about studying, correcting our character traits. I don't think there's any limitation there at all. It's the reason why I'm covering some of that in the B'nai Noach group. There's so much we can study that is profitable to our walk as a human and our walk with God as our Creator, that we don't have to spend time getting into areas that, I'm going to study the book of Isaiah, or I'm going to study the book of, this or that. when we have books like Job and Jonah and Genesis, I've been in Genesis probably for 3 or 4 years now, and I haven't got out of it. I've touched some of the other places, but I've just now barely gotten past Genesis chapter 9, because every time I find something new and interesting, before Genesis 9 that I didn't know, that is profitable for me as a human being. So really, it's not being told that you can't study it. It's studying things that's profitable to you as a person, a human being that walks with God and what he expects from you. That's just my opinion.
No, actually, that's a good explanation, because there's a lot of Jews that can't study either. They're told, no, you can't study it. Why? But what are they saying? If somebody wants to read it and know about it, they can, but they don't have the background knowledge to understand what they're reading. It takes years and years and years and years of study. You can't just pick up one of these books and understand what's being said.
It's like when I was studying for conversion, one of the things you heard a lot in synagogue when I went was Jews are not permitted to study Kabbalah until you're 40 years old, and which really means that you're well grounded in the Torah. You understand everything that you're obligated to do before you get into this. That's really what that's pointing to.
Essentially, if you get into things that you're looking for explanations, you're trying to understand without the background knowledge, you're wasting your time. And just like Terry said, I'm going to go read about brain surgery tomorrow, but I haven't studied anything up to that. So how am I going to understand what brain surgery is? I can watch movies and I can say, oh, this is great, and you do this and you do that. But the whys, the wherefores, the background knowledge we don't have. Everybody on this earth, everybody is allowed to study anything in Torah. But you have to, if we just say, oh yes, you can study it, what we end up with is exactly what we see in the Noachide groups right now. This one says, well, this is my opinion, and I don't believe this one over here. And they get their own opinion. They don't put the value on 3,300 years of study that people have done about this, and knowledgeable people that were created by God to give us this information. That was their whole purpose on life. We have sages and prophets that lived to the ages of 27, 30, 34, 36. As soon as they got the information over to us they were supposed to give, they're gone.
Yeah, like Rebbe Nachman of Breslov, he died of tuberculosis at age 38.
So did Ari, but he died at 34.
Yeah.
Holy Ari.
And he learned so much about prayer and Emunah that his job was over with.
The book series by our school called The Daily Dose of Torah, is that okay? Of course it is. It lays out a systematic approach to learning, but if you're just going to read it by yourself, understand this is something you have to be guided through, so that when a question comes up in your mind, you don't answer it for yourself. It's the question of someone that knows more than you know. We have a saying in Hebrew. Essentially, it's this: if you know the letter A, teach A. If you know the letter A and B, teach A and B. But someone's just reading by themselves and think they know the letter A, can't know it until they find out from someone else, do they have the right thinking? Because our minds go in a million different ways. I've learned this, I've been teaching since 1999. If something comes out of my mouth and someone takes it somewhere where it had no intention of me saying anything about it at all, they're off in the wild blue yonder somewhere saying, Pesach said this and Pesach said that, and it had nothing to do with what I said. The person wasn't listening properly. So, and they read things and they think that they know something now because they read it. Reading something doesn't make you know it. Makes you think about it. That's true. But we go through the Torah every single year. We start right at Breshit and we go right through the end and we start again, and we've been doing this ever since we got it. Can you imagine 3,300 years? reading the 5 books of Moses, 3,300 years. So we know things, or I don't know them all, but a lot of people, the real geniuses, the people that study all day long, they know them. Wait a minute, hold it back up so you can see the front again.
It's
yeah, okay.
Scroll to Knock series, over 2,000 years of commentary on the book of Genesis gathered
There
together
you go.
from, it says new translation with commentary, anthology, from Talmudic, Midrashic, and rabbinic sources. But this is my favorite as far as the book of Genesis. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a whole lot. That's just, look, Shira's in a class at one of her schools she goes to. They've been studying the book of Genesis 2 years. Just the book of Genesis.
I spent 2 years on the conversation with Cain. Couldn't get out of it. Every time I opened up my Bible, and I was a Christian at the time, I kept coming to the book, the conversation of Cain. And my wife, she's like, every time we get in a conversation, she'll go, why does every conversation come back to that? I said, it just does. And one day, before I left Christianity, I looked at my wife and I said, I don't understand it, but I believe that the answer to life is in the book of Genesis. How I'm going to find it. And I didn't know what I was saying at the time.
Look, any of you out there, anybody listening, anybody watching this, if you're doing study on your own, which is good, or even listening to other people, YouTube videos and all that, we have some of our teachers that maybe aren't, they haven't been there, done that on this Noachide thing. They're really good at other stuff, and they're trying to switch over to Noachide. And let me tell you, there's a lot of our teachers are just as uneducated as the rest of us about all this. This is a new phenomenon. So the people, some of the rabbis are going to, they go too far to the right. Some go too far to the left. Hang on a minute. The Chabad, the bus is going around playing loud music, getting ready to the kids to come and pray and stuff. So, if you come up with questions, I suggest, and you can do what you want, but Shira and I have been studying this for 14 years. And we come at it from a little bit different viewpoint than most all other rabbis come to it through. We come through it through the idea that people just have to somehow set aside where you are right now. You just have to stop and say, okay, let me get some new information in my head. Let me not connect it with the information I already have in my head. You just have to, it's like if you got a glass of water and you want fresh water, you pour out the old water, pour in the new. You can't pour, if a glass of water was sitting out for a couple of days, would you pick it up and drink it? Probably not. You probably pour it all out and put fresh water in. What you don't want to do is pour it halfway out and then put fresh water in, because it all gets mixed up. Now if you have water, I'm using an example because it's easy, and let's say a drop of dirt falls in the water. Just a drop. What do you do with the water? You throw it out and you fill it up again new. A lot of things in our heads are from being taught, are being taught to us. And I grew up in America, and it was taught to me, the whole America is full of the Western way of thinking, which is Greek-Roman thinking. And so I had to do the same thing you guys are doing. I had to empty myself out and start receiving again. Because when stuff came in, I was very opinionated. What do you want me to do this for? Why am I going to do this? You think God really wants me to do this? And it got tiring. So I said to myself, okay, that's the end of that. I'm just going to listen to everything and not apply my opinions to it. Now, Carla says, oh, you want me to be patient? Only so much. But don't be impatient, because impatience can lead you in a wrong direction. Something get in your heads real good. God is looking for progress from you every day, not perfection. He just wants progress in that walk to be you and him with a beautiful connection together. And he doesn't care if you get your foot on the first step or you've been doing it for 18 years. He doesn't care. You're the same. You're following what he wants to do.
Yeah,
when you take a step up, it's bigger than a step up a guy that's been studying for 18 years takes.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you want to be patient? Because you want to get the information proper in your head. And you know what? I'm going to give you a little clue. You got eternity to do it in. You got eternity. Because this is only the beginning of life here. I know we get older. I know things happen. But all we're doing is getting ready to go over to the next level of life. So you got eternity to learn all this in. Just what we got to do is do our work here right now. We get on the other side, we get a lot more information. Go ahead, Terry. I'm sorry.
I kind of jokingly tell people that my spirit animal is a turtle. I move slow, but I'm still going forward.
There you go. That's all God asks. That's all God asks.
That's why I don't really I don't get in a hurry as much as I used to in my studies. I mean, I get things I'm interested in, I'll learn. But I'll be honest with you, that's why I've not really jumped back completely into the Torah cycle like I was when I was during the conversion process, because I'm just stuck in Genesis. You know, I can learn. I learn things. I'll have some thoughts. Oh, I need to learn about this, and I know it's over in Leviticus or Deuteronomy. You know, it's mentioned. I'll go over there and I'll look at it and look at those other books. You know, subject related. You know, that might be mentioned there, but there is so much in the book of Genesis. Like we were discussing earlier, Pesach was talking about the thief earlier, having faith in God, and right here in Genesis chapter 9, verse 3, at the end of verse 3, it says, I have given you everything. And I've pondered this passage, these few words, quite often here over the last couple of months. And this is telling us that God is He's given you everything, so there's no need for you to take anything from somebody else, because He's given them everything they need. He's given you everything you need. He's given Joe everything he needs. So we can learn a lot about theft, you know, in this and other areas of life that, you know, that God says, I've given you everything. And so it's just stuff like that. 3 or 4 little words keeps me trapped in Genesis 9 for a while.
Yeah, well, let me tell you how we teach our kids. First of all, we start with Vayikra, Leviticus, I think it's called in English.
The Book of Holiness, Kodashim.
Huh?
I think I've also heard it's called Kodashim, the Book of Holiness.
Vayikra, it may be a nickname for it.
Well, it is. Yeah, the Book of Leviticus.
The meaning of Vayikra is any called. So that whole book is he calls Moses, he calls Aaron, he calls Aaron's sons, he calls the Levites, and he calls Israel. He's calling us all to come do what he says to do. Vayikra. You know, I know that whatever reason they change the names, but when you're studying these things for a child is told something very specific. Read what we give you. Don't ask questions. Don't stop to look stuff up. Just read the whole thing through. Just read it through. Then start over again when you finish reading. And read it again. And as you read it, things are going to click in your head. And then some questions will come up. Then you start over again, and the same thing happens. That's why we do the yearly cycle. That's why we just read it first. If you don't read the whole thing first, just right on through, without asking questions, without thinking about it, just letting it go into your head, you get a picture of what the whole thing is. So we start at Genesis again, you already know the end. You know the end is in the beginning is in the end. Did you guys know that if you unroll a Torah completely and just put it in a big circle around and put the two pages together, the last page and the first page, the story doesn't stop. It goes from the last page, the sentences just run right into the Bereshit in the beginning and goes all the way around again. It's a continual reading. It's not, here's the beginning and here's an end. It's, hey, the end is in the beginning and the beginning is in the end. They fit together. That's it. That's what they are. And if you look at on a Hebrew, and I don't have one here with me now, if I can remember, I'll have it next week. The Hebrew, on the last page, if you just take the last page and read it down to the end and then start with Bereshit, it's just a continuation of what the last page is. Only God could do something like this. Only God. In your Bible there, Terry, that you had the Tanakh. You got Tanakh, right?
Well, I've just got my Chumash out right here.
All right, read the last, say, 3 sentences in the Chumash.
All right, hold on. I'm going to flip to the beginning also.
It probably doesn't sound as
the last 2 verses of Deuteronomy, verses 10 and 11, says, "Never again has there arisen in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom Hashem had known face to face, as evidenced by all the signs and wonders that Hashem sent him."
Yeah, just keep reading. What's it say? The first lines of Bereshit.
In the beginning of God's creating of the heavens and the earth, when the earth was astonished, empty, and darkness fell upon the face.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds different in English.
It sounds different in English, yeah, because English hides it.
Yeah, but it's just a continuation, a circular thing. That's why we keep reading it and reading it and reading it. And each year we study that little section that's for that week, and we get some knowledge. And then the next year we come back and study that section. So wait a minute, I didn't see those words last year.
Right.
Because we weren't ready to see the words. God wasn't ready to show them to us last year. And now we have more knowledge to base the whole thing on.
I learned a cute little story in my learning process. There was a little boy went up to his dad after Simchat Torah and asked. He says, "Why are we starting reading Genesis again? We just finished. Why do we read this over and over again every year?" And the father answered the little boy and says, "Because you wasn't the same person last year."
That's exactly right. You read, you come to a higher level. That's why we teach it like that. That's why we ask other people to learn it like that, because it's so much easier. But you have to have patience. You have to have patience. It takes years and years of reading, and I don't care how many times you've read it in your life. The next time you read it, you're going to see something new. There's always something new there. It's just amazing. You going to say something, Terry?
No, just.
Okay.
No, I agree 100%. That's why it's just it's another proof of the knowledge of the eternal divineness behind the Torah in the Hebrew, especially in the Hebrew.
Right, but you can do it in the English also. It does, but you have to use a Tanakh,
Yeah, a proper English Jewish, a proper
a
Jewish
proper Jewish
translation.
translation. Yeah, you can't
Uh,
use mistranslations.
for those who don't know a lot of Hebrew,
Yeah, that's a good one.
I was turned on to this Torah because it says it's the Living Torah, a new translation based on traditional Jewish sources by Rabbi Eric Kaplan. And it's really easy to read. It's got some footnotes at the bottom a little bit, not like what the ArchScroll has, but it's really good, easy reading. And when you sit down and like a lot of times when I read this, I'll compare it with my ArchScroll, and it's really close. But what I find here the rabbi did is he brings in a lot of the Jewish traditional understanding of a verse versus a straight translation.
Look, now, I don't want to put down ArtScroll, but you know who Quixote Publishing is?
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't have anything through them. I just
Okay, well, that essentially, from what I understand, and it's the talk around right now, that they're putting out a new translation that will be the best that's ever been done, and that even Chabad is going to start changing over their website from the JPS to that, and other people are starting. Other people that know, in other words, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't recommend it. But this new one that's coming out is just going to like overtake everything else. There's so much more in it, and there's so much more wisdom in it. And ArtScroll has been around for years and years and years, and it's filled its job and it's done its purpose. And so there's new understandings coming out like it's supposed to happen all the time. That's why that's what the Talmud is. That's what the Gemara is. Every generation, there's something new understanding of what God's word is. It's constantly flowing. It's alive. It's constantly growing.
When you hear about when that translation actually comes out to where we can get a copy of it, can you keep us maybe hopefully posted in the group?
I certainly will, because I intend on getting me a copy of it.
Well, I'll definitely. You know me. I like my books. I want a copy.
Yeah.
Will it be a Chumash?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 5 books of Moses. And I think they're probably going to have the prophets and the writings in there too, but definitely the Chumash. Anybody have any other questions or something? We're kind of a little bit over time here.
Oh, it is, ain't it? Having a good discussion today.
I know that we conflict with time.
Earlier.
Pardon?
I apologize for the alarm going off earlier.
Oh, that's okay. That's no problem. I know we conflict with times of other groups. And we're trying to find a solution because we want other people in here. We're hopefully you can invite other people to come in here. Before you ladies joined, I think I said Fran's not here today because she's babysitting her grandkids this weekend, and Troy's not here because he had a family thing to do today. But so we have a basis here of a group, and we really are enlisting your help to get other people to come in here and just listen. So that's. Yeah, Koran's a good and so's the Stone Edition. Starting time is Terry. I got nothing to do with that. He's the production manager here.
Veronica is over on the West Coast, and she's saying an hour earlier because we were just doing like 12, so it's a little bit more into the morning for the people on the West Coast. If we did it at 11, I don't have a problem with that. This is my committed thing on Sundays, unless I'm out of town. We've got a couple of trips coming up to go see some family and my dad in Oklahoma, my uncle in Kentucky, hopefully to do that this summer. But I hope to have things set up to where, Pesach will have full control of everything on it. But
I don't mind.
If we want to change it to 11 o'clock and then I can adjust the hours on our host in the group, that may help out a whole lot.
If you want to do that, that's fine with me.
Is that okay? Is that okay with you, Veronica? And Carla, where are you from?
That works great for me. It's Veronica. Because I know that, there's 2 other groups that I'd like to attend every so often. And this would work out really good if we did it an hour earlier.
Okay, is that okay with you, Carla?
Carla says she's in Georgia.
She's in my time zone, so would 11 o'clock Eastern time be fine with you, Carla?
Yes, it would be fine. That's no problem.
Good.
Okay. Well, what I might do is I'll work on changing the announcement in the group for this week, and we will try 11 o'clock. Wait, how about for you, Pesach? An hour early for you. Is that okay with you?
Hour early, hour later doesn't make any difference for me.
Okay.
I'm sitting here 7 in the evening for me, so I don't 6 in the evening, 7, 8 doesn't make any difference. I'm here.
Think Thomas, we're on the same time zone as I am Eastern, right? Or are you Central?
No, I'm same as you. Just let me know. I'll be there.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make what I'll do is we'll try this out. Let's say the next couple of weeks and see how it goes. And we might get a few extra people who can't because they're always in other groups. And then other people who want to go to the other groups can go to them.
But Veronica, that means you're getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning?
No, I'll probably get up at 7:55.
Oh, okay. It's 8 in the morning where you are. Okay.
When Terry used to have his at, 6 or 6:30 in the morning, Terry? Quite a while ago. I used to get up for that too.
I don't remember.
It was very early, but I made it.
All right. Now, I want everybody to understand that if anybody wants and has the ability to put some kind of little home group together, 2, 3 people, let me know. I'll be more than happy to visit once a week, once every 2 weeks, or just one time if you have some people you want to have question me and talk to me. I'm more than happy to do it. And we set it up on Skype or on Facebook Messenger. I'm happy to do it. There's many people as I can talk to. I'd love to do it and let people know about this. So if you guys have any ideas how to promote it, if anybody that wants to get involved, anybody that's questioning, get a hold of me. Let's do it. Get a hold of Terry. He'll let me know anyway, whatever's easiest for you. And because the time zone I'm in, I'm a little more flexible than Terry because he's, a hard-working man there.
Well, I donate this day as my crash day before I go back to work. And so this is a primary, being part of this group is a primary thing for me. So an hour early doesn't matter to me.
Okay, but what I'm telling them is if they want to do on a different day, a different night, something where you want to get people together, as long as it's not on my Shabbat here in Israel, I'm more than happy to help you do it. And see if we can do to arrange a meeting or something. I have people I meet with in their homes once a week, and some of the people I've been meeting with for years and years, every once a week in their homes, and I just want to keep on doing it.
Okay.
All right, guys, I think we got to get out of here. It's getting pretty. It's going to be a big file this week. Sorry, Terry.
That's no problem. You want me to do it in 1 or 2?
If you can do it in 1, it's not a big deal. Then just do it in 1.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it, Terry. I know he appreciates it too, and the help. And it's always good to see it. Thomas, Veronica, Carla, and the 2 that weren't here of the regulars. See you next week. And anybody else that's watching this video, get a hold of myself, get a hold of Terry. Comment on the video on YouTube. Let us know what's going on, what you think, and what do you want to talk about.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Shavua Tov, everyone.
Shavua Tov, everybody. Have a good, wonderful week.